There's a truth that waits in the quiet space between sleep and waking, when the body is still but the spirit begins to stir. A truth whispered through symbols, fragments, and feelings too vast to capture in words. It is the notion, outrageous yet familiar, that your dreams are not dreams at all. They are messages. They are transmissions. They are the sacred murmurs of your parallel selves, versions of you that live, breathe, and evolve in dimensions just slightly out of reach. To dismiss your dreams as mere mental noise is to ignore the knocking of your own multidimensional soul. We have been trained through centuries of reductionism to treat dreams as the mind's digestive system, processing leftovers from the day, releasing psychic pressure. But what if there's something more? What if dreams are the moments when the veil thins, when your waking identity becomes porous, and through that opening, another you steps in to leave a breadcrumb, a warning, a spark? You are not one. You are legion. Across the great web of existence, you live many lives simultaneously. Some are familiar, other versions of this life, where you made different choices. Others are unrecognizable. Lives as beings not quite human, lives tethered to other stars, lives shaped by laws your physics has not yet dreamed of. And though the curtain between these realities is dense in waking hours, it softens in sleep. There is a quiet revolution happening behind your eyelids, a realm that stirs when your mind dissolves into sleep, when the sharp edges of this world soften and dissolve like sugar in warm tea. It is a place where the known rules of cause and effect unravel, and your feet touch ground that cannot be measured, only remembered in echoes. You call them dreams. Strange, fragmented, fleeting, sometimes nonsensical, sometimes so piercingly meaningful that you awaken breathless, as though touched by some truth too large to fit inside your waking skull. But what if I told you this? Your dreams are not dreams. They're not fictions. They are not your mind's nighttime playhouse. They are messages, signals, transmissions, and not from some distant spirit or whimsical archetype, but from you, from other versions of you, living out parallel expressions in alternate threads of reality. This idea does not ask you to believe blindly. It invites you to remember, because deep inside, in the marrow of your soul, something already recognizes this. A whisper, a flicker, a familiarity in dreams that defies explanation. How is it that you've walked the halls of a building you've never seen in waking life, yet know with a certainty that feels older than time? How do you explain the conversations with faces that speak with the weight of cosmic memory, only to vanish in a mist upon waking? These are not mere coincidences of a restless brain. They are correspondence from elsewhere. Modern science speaks of the multiverse like a theory. Spiritual traditions speak of the soul's multidimensionality like a prayer. But perhaps they are speaking of the same truth in different tongues. Perhaps every night, when your eyes close and your body stills, your consciousness does not simply rest. It shifts. It slips into resonance with other frequencies, other lifelines, where you're also alive, also choosing, also becoming. And in those crossings, brief and flickering, pieces of their experience are passed to you, not as information, but as dreams. Compressed truths wrapped in symbolism. Encrypted guidance sent through the liquid screen of the subconscious. To view dreams as nothing but neurochemical echoes is to miss their greater function. That would be like mistaking the stars for pinholes in the sky. Dreams are not illogical. They are deeply nonlinear. They are not madness. They are metasense. And while they're not always easy to decode, they're not random. They are part of a larger design, one that reveals, if you are willing to look, that you are not a single self crawling through a singular timeline. You are many. You are layered. You are quantum. And your dreams are your bridge to all the other yous. The path forward is not about interpreting dreams in the traditional sense. It is about listening in a new way, about waking up not just in the morning, but within the dream itself, both figuratively and literally. Because the ones reaching out to you, they're not ghosts. They're not gods. They are you, and they've been trying to reach you all your life. To understand the idea that your dreams are messages from your parallel selves, you must first allow the edges of reality as you know it to become a little less rigid. This world, The one you wake up to, with its clocks and calendars, its linear stories, and unyielding physical rules, is not the whole of reality. It is a carefully tuned frequency, a dimension built upon agreements, perceptions, and filters. But just outside the range of your sensory bandwidth, there are other versions of reality, equally real, equally alive, where different versions of you are walking different roads. Some closer to you, some vastly distant. And every night, when the static of daily consciousness dies down, you become more than one again. You begin to merge. The core of this phenomenon lies in the nature of consciousness itself. You are not a passenger in your body. You are a node in a vast, interconnected lattice of awareness. What we call you is just the local expression of a much larger being, one that spans across timelines, across dimensions, across incarnations. This being, this higher self, does not speak through language, but through vibration. And dreams are one of its most direct and intimate modes of communication. Dreams occur in a realm unbound by gravity, geography, or ego. They emerge from a space that exists beneath the floorboards of ordinary awareness, a metaphysical ocean where time folds, symbols live, and identity stretches like thread through a loom of infinite weavings. And within that ocean, the reflections you encounter are not figments of a fractured mind, but artifacts of your own multiplicity. In one life, you are a teacher. In another, a warrior. In yet another, you never left the home you grew up in, and your life spiraled into a quiet sorrow. These parallel lives inform each other, influence each other, not through some linear logic, but through resonance, through the deep vibrational song of the soul. Your current self, what we might call your anchor consciousness, exists in constant dialogue with these other versions. Not always in ways you can name, but in dreams, this dialogue becomes vivid. A dream of falling may not be a fear of failure, but a glimpse from a version of you who actually did fall, from grace, from power, from love. A dream of flying may be a transmission from a self who remembered how to transcend limitations. When you dream of being pursued, ask yourself not what you are afraid of, but who among your many selves is trying to reach you. What part of you has become so urgent that it must appear in disguise? In a dreamscape, the language is never direct. It is metaphor made alive, symbol become architect. It is the only way the non-linear selves can speak to you without overwhelming your linear mind. So the message comes cloaked. A forest that whispers secrets, a mirror that refuses to reflect, a forgotten city you somehow remember perfectly. These are not dreams. They are dispatches. They are encrypted memos from other timelines, urging you to awaken, not just within the dream, but from the illusion of separation itself. To grasp this fully is to begin sensing yourself not as one flame, but as many flickers of the same fire. It is to recognize that your life is a conversation with countless other lives. And dreams? They are the meeting place. The veil between dimensions becomes porous when the body sleeps. And in that stillness, you're not sleeping. You are receiving. Imagine now a traveler who walks through a forest that does not belong to this world. The trees hum with ancient intelligence, their roots tangled not in soil, but in memory. Each leaf glows faintly, like a living thought suspended in time. The traveler does not know how he arrived here, only that he's been here before, many times in fact. He walks paths that twist in familiar unfamiliarity, drawn forward by a sense of unfinished business. In the distance, a version of himself stands beneath a sky that shifts colors with emotion. They do not speak. They simply remember each other. This is not fiction. This is a dream you may have had, or one you will. A symbolic narrative stitched from your own unconscious, yet rooted in a deeper collective truth, that you are walking beside your other selves, even now, in the folds of invisible space. In the dream, the traveler isn't confused by the surreal. He recognizes it, because dreams allow you to bypass the illusion of disbelief. Your soul knows how to read metaphor as fluently as your body reads sunlight. Many dreams seem nonsensical only because the waking mind tries to interpret them literally. But a symbol does not live in logic. it lives in resonance. A snake in a dream may not just be fear or danger. It may be you shedding an identity in another timeline, that cellular memory echoing back into yours. A staircase leading nowhere might be the spiritual progress of another self that chose a different path, and now you're being called to integrate its wisdom. A recurring dream of drowning may be a metaphysical emergency, a version of you trapped in a loop of emotion, gasping for breath, sending distress signals through the membrane of sleep. There is one dream that comes to many, a hallway of countless doors. Each door is slightly ajar. Each leads to a different scene. A life you could have lived. A life you did live. A moment of happiness just out of reach. A shadow of regret watching from the corner. These are not empty illusions. These are literal glimpses bleeding through from the many chambers of your being. Some doors open to paradise, others to pain, but each one belongs to you. The realm of dreams is structured like a mirror within a mirror, reflecting aspects of your multidimensional self until identity begins to shimmer and break apart. In this way, every dream is both message and mirror, both map and mystery. You are the dreamer, but also the dreamed. You are the sender and the receiver. When your parallel self walks through your dream, it's not merely visiting. It's merging, briefly overlapping timelines to pass you a clue, a warning, a gift. Some have dreamed of lost children, searching. These may not be future offspring or symbols of innocence. They might be versions of you who were never allowed to grow, trapped in unlived timelines. Others dream of being in a city that doesn't exist, filled with people whose names they somehow know. These places are often real, just not here. They're cities from parallel Earths, woven into your subconscious through the shared architecture of soul memory. The veil is thinner than we've been told. What you experience as dreams are events occurring across the layered spectrum of your existence. Each image, each encounter, each whisper is a symbol with weight. These are not hallucinations. They are mythologies with roots, anchors from dimensions where you are the myth now surfacing into memory. The key is not in asking, what does this dream mean? But in asking, who sent it and what part of me is trying to awaken? The question lingers like a low hum beneath everything we've explored so far. But what do I do with this? It's one thing to entertain the poetic notion that your dreams are messages from parallel selves. It's another to live as though that's true. Yet the power of this understanding lies precisely in its real-world implications. Because when you begin to treat your dreams as conscious communication, your life becomes an act of listening rather than reacting. The dream becomes the blueprint. The waking life becomes the response. Begin by shifting your relationship with sleep itself. It is not downtime. It is not passive. It is a portal, a transmission point where the surface mind dissolves and deeper connections awaken. Before you sleep, you might start setting intentions, not in the sense of controlling the dream, but opening a door. Say to yourself, inwardly or aloud, I am open to receiving what I need from the other versions of myself. Simple, sincere. That's enough. The dream world doesn't respond to commands. It responds to resonance. And even this small gesture aligns you with that greater stream. Then comes the practice of remembering. The dream doesn't end when you wake up. It simply changes frequency. Train yourself to hold the first few seconds of consciousness like a fragile thread. Don't move too quickly. Don't jump into your phone. Instead, lie still and ask, where was I just now? Who did I see? What was I being shown? And how did it feel? Write it down, even if it's fragmented. Dreams often dissolve under the harsh light of the rational mind, but their emotional signature lingers. That's the key. The message lives in the feeling, not just the image. As you record dreams over time, patterns will emerge. Certain themes will repeat. Places, faces, symbols. Begin to treat these not as entertainment, but as a code. Not in the sense of forcing meaning onto them, but in allowing them to form a personal mythology, a living language between your waking self and your multidimensional being. Over time, you'll come to recognize certain dreams not as random, but as ongoing conversations, updates from parallel timelines, checkpoints from other selves. And what of waking life? This is where the dream really unfolds. Because when you recognize that other versions of yourself are actively informing your path,
you start to see your choices differently. You begin to notice that gut feeling not as mere intuition, but as interdimensional feedback. You begin to sense that déjà vu might be not a glitch, but a message, a ripple from another you, choosing differently. You feel a subtle gravitational pull toward people or places, and instead of dismissing it, you listen. You move with the dream, even while awake. Moreover, your emotional experiences begin to take on new depth. Instead of labeling something as just anxiety or just a mood, you start to wonder, is this mine? Or is this a bleed through from a self who is struggling elsewhere, trying to show me what not to repeat? This is not a call for paranoia. It is a call for awareness. The more conscious you become of your own inner multiverse, the less you feel like a victim of circumstance, and the more you act as a co-navigator of your entire soul system. Even creativity begins to shift. Art, music, writing, invention, they all become channels for what you remember between the folds of sleep. You may begin to create things that feel both familiar and foreign, as if plucked from a world you can't quite place. That's because they are. Inspiration, in this model, is not random. It is retrieval. You are reclaiming knowledge, emotion, vision from other lifelines and expressing it here, where it is most needed. Most profoundly, relationships begin to transform. You start to recognize certain people not just as strangers or friends, but as echoes. A lover in this life may have been a sibling in another. An enemy here might have been your teacher elsewhere. The intensity you feel towards certain people may be the gravitational memory of soul contracts fulfilled or broken across timelines. And in dreams, these dynamics play out, offering chances to heal, reconcile, or deepen. This isn't spiritual escapism. It's radical embodiment. It's the understanding that to live fully awake in this timeline, you must acknowledge all of yourself, including the selves you meet in dreams. So here you are, awake, or at least closer to waking than you were before. The dream is no longer something that happens only while your eyes are closed. It is something that breathes through your thoughts, weaves through your feelings, and speaks from the depth of your being in symbols, echoes, and signs. Once you've truly glimpsed it, even just once, the question is no longer, was that just a dream? But rather, what is this reality really? You are not a singular, linear being confined to the flickering film strip of this one lifetime. You are a vast, multifaceted soul whose consciousness has scattered like stars across parallel dimensions. Some versions of you walk in light. Others have fallen into shadow. Some are childlike, others ancient. Some have chosen peace. Others are still wrestling with fire. But all of them, every single one, is still you. And they're trying to reach you, even now. Not to confuse or overwhelm you, but to remind you that you are not alone in your becoming. The dream is the meeting ground, the sacred hearth where all your selves gather and speak in the shared language of symbol and story. These are not idle fictions of the subconscious. They're soul transmissions. And as you begin to honor that, to listen, your life begins to shift, not in spectacle, but in gravity. Small moments take on weight. Strange feelings become oracles. The mundane begins to shimmer with metaphysical significance. Because now, when you feel lost, you understand that somewhere, perhaps just a hair's breadth beyond this reality, another version of you found the way. And if you close your eyes, soften your thoughts, and open your heart, their footsteps may echo just enough for you to follow. When you feel unsure, another self may be offering you the strength they already earned. When you feel joy, it may be your whole soul network harmonizing for a brief, golden moment. Transformation doesn't come from escape. It comes from integration. The more you welcome your dreams as messages from the deeper, multidimensional aspects of your being, the more of your full self becomes available here, now, in this moment. You become less reactive, more intuitive, less fragmented, more whole. The decisions you make begin to carry the wisdom of more than one lifetime. And when you meet yourself in the mirror, not the dream mirror, but the one in your waking room, you begin to see not just a face, but a portal. A reminder that this version of you is sacred, but not solitary. So what now? What happens after you've remembered that your dreams are not dreams? Now begins the deeper journey. A journey where sleep is no longer a break from life, but a council of souls. A journey where you no longer dismiss a strange dream as just a thought, but receive it like a traveler receives a map drawn by stars. A journey where waking and dreaming are not separate states, but parts of the same great unfolding. You are being called not to transcend this world, but to illuminate it with the truths your other selves already carry. They've fought for it. They've wandered for it. They've loved and lost for it. And they're passing you the torch through dreams, night after night, saying, don't forget. You're not just living, you're remembering. The truth is, you've always known. Close your eyes tonight with reverence. Not because you are about to sleep, but because you are about to arrive. You are not just the dreamer. You are the dream remembered.